every night at 8 p.m. on my YouTube channel, I'll be reading a Dragonlance. I'll be reading a Dragonlance story. Hopefully people will, play less video games or whatever and get into books more. But that might be part of the reason that it's synchronizing to me. But I'm not going to get into sharing anything that would look negative on anybody, of course. But it's really funny it's really funny. Everybody's going to enjoy it. It's just kind of hard to right now because of everything that's happening. All the possibilities that are very real. And how much I've been taking advantage of. I should be rich right now. I should be famous right now. It's very true that the names are responded to me. Devin would be the best person to contact to let Amber know. Devin, because Kathleen made up lies about him too. He was also a scary stalker. And so those are Devonshire Street. So funny. So my girlfriend did that to him too. So if she would have tried to contact him, people would have possibly, did that too. But they also would have been like, she's making up lies. That's not even true. It's a little bit more difficult to do it with him because he's like a drag queen. I mean, I guess it's a little bit more believable with me, but do you think she really believed it? I mean, my God, do I look like a dangerous stalker? I haven't been able to reach her. I have to assume that a human trafficking network has until I find out, until I make sure that she's able to see everything I was sharing. Somebody could have just blocked me and then just used her and controlled her completely using what they were gathering from watching me. That's really scary. You know it. It's not okay to block me like that. All this time? What the hell? How could anybody be okay with that? Seems like the only way it's possible is if somebody was trying to frame somebody else, Because, why would they do that? It's so cruel. What the hell did I do? There's no reason to do that to me. But, anyways, I'm going to be suing. I sent letter of demands everywhere. So, if they're not suddenly giving Amber money and me money, I'll see them in court. So, that's cool. But don't I look handsome? Do I look like Tanis Half-Elven? Do I need my ears pulled? Tanis Half-Elven. That's my conservative side. It's funny. It's like weird. So, Tanis Half-Elven. This is going to be a really fun, interesting story. It's like me before I got into anything bad. I'm excited to read this story. This is going to be really fun. So I might as well do it now. Here, I'll just use this light here. This is cool. Okay, so I am... Okay, I've got so much work to do. Okay. My God, maybe I should just go with one of those rich and famous girls, So it looks like that girl just kind of doesn't care about me. How could she not care about me? It's just the only explanation was that she was blocked in my head. There's no way anybody would not care. Being that famous? Are you kidding me? Once the people find out, they'll freak out. I need her help telling them, though. Who's gonna tell them? They're not even believing me because she's calling me a stalker, duh. She's like waiting for me to be discovered, but she's totally making it harder on me. Wake up to that. Like the famous people that helped me reach her are all like, oh my God, did I make a mistake? Whoops. Like they don't know what's going on, but they totally did me a huge favor, So wake up to that. But yeah, there's that song. There are all those songs, those goth artists and stuff. They'll synchronize to us. When I put in a quarter, it was a lot more meaningful and important to them when I put in a quarter, because I would, I don't know, I guess I was less embarrassing. I knew how to dance well. I would grow the scene. I would know how to tease people and grow the scene. And people, you know, when I travel and stuff, they might play a song that, you know, I know what the song is about. I know who the songs are for or whatever. That's pretty cool to be able to say. Isn't this cool right here? Check this out. So the red Eaton picture is so beautiful. So with that red Eaton thing, it matches the 16 Scented Celebration thing perfectly. And she's got, she's looking above my head. Like she's like, oh my gosh, a halo. Oh no. I'm really thankful that she changed her diet, by the way, thank you. But I understand what you went through. Like, look, the forest has all these things in it and stuff. You're like watching her. This is a picture of, if you do a search for Chrysania, this pops up. Chrysania. She's in the Dragonlance series. So the reason Chrysania appears in Legends but not Chronicles is because Palmby's younger than me. And the reason she appears in Palanthas, because in the subconscious mind of the authors, that's Seattle. So funny. So anyways, I'm going to read Dragonlance. So I might as well do that right now. Isn't that beautiful? It's kind of like that, right? Is she ready though? It's cool how I put these pictures perfectly together and it goes to her head. We put ready to her head. And she's like, holy crap, that guy's seriously famous. Oh my god. He's an angel? What? Oh my gosh. Is that for real or is he lying to me? Probably totally tripping about that. How sad. I would have thought that too. Who the hell wouldn't? Look at this one. This one's cool. This one is Chrysania. Going, oh my gosh. Everybody's aware of me? Look, there's this is called Chrysania and Palanthas. And then there's Raceland right there. There's his brother and his wife over there. And then his wife is where Raceland and Chrysania are. And then he's like, Rest. Isn't that cool? So the moon represents voices. Look at this one. Isn't that beautiful? You see them up there too. I think it looks the best right there. Ooh, hey. What does she have at her palm? Is it a bee? Look at this one. He's there. He's tripping out because he's like having dreams and stuff. That she's going to be there. Look at the echo. Isn't that beautiful? I hope she's not worried. This is really cool because of the song that I was making. Look at this. Will your love for me last long enough to lose your eyes? Your vision? She's all, because he has to succeed in her living longer than him. Or he failed, because she's younger. The innocent heart shape you once knew will become a bird's bottom. She's like, oh my gosh! Look at this one. She's with him. They're at the moon. Her voice is like that. It's always like romantic. Look at the echo. It's so beautiful. It's such a good thing. Like, look, it represents the moon going crazy, and then over here you can see it looks like what's happening there. Are there two people kissing? Is she grabbing him and kissing him? See, there's a guy there and she's there. It's so beautiful. I'm so fortunate that they hooked us up, you know, because when I get older, I'll still be able to dress up and feel beautiful. Very nice. I guess it makes sense, though, because of all the stuff I did for them, you know. Cool. So on my TikTok, you can see proof that authors responded to the readers. It's theuntitled.us, all one word. And I'm tired of being blocked and used by, what, Jesus Christ or whatever. It's so evil. Stop doing that. Always have just one viewer. That's so crazy. With everything that's been happening, I should have had way more than that. People should have been helping me. It's really evil. But there's always a team of people contacting people whenever I try to contact them. It's like trying to block me and trying to give me a hard time. It's like, you're not Mormon yet or something ridiculous. Or trying to get me to think that. More like it. Enough. Well, I guess I have to go to court. So, let's, yeah, it's so beautiful. See, I mean, none of them would be helping them or doing that if they actually knew everything. Why wouldn't anybody want to help, and why wouldn't anybody want to do this? That's probably the problem. Too many people want to. You actually want to take it from me? Because it appears that you're doing that right now. So I'm not getting enough help. How could the Mormon Church not see that? Or they've been blocked. So that it looks like, you know, they're doing that. But they've been spying on me since I was a kid. So, and I have a lot of proof of that, so. I'm not dangerous. Look at this. So there's the end of the last home, and that's where we're going to start our story. So I'm going to do it every day at 8 o'clock on my gaming channel. And I'll just read it, and I'll cover for people as I'm reading it. Okay, so first chapter is the old man. I guess I will be looking at the pictures as I'm doing this. That would make the most sense. I should have got the atlas. Yeah, I'll get that for the next time. That would be true. I love Dragonlance. It's so cool. Not many people know it though, huh? Okay. I love this. Poo Poo. I forgot about her. Oh, this is gonna be so cool. It's so meaningful. Wrestling. He likes the homeless people? What's going on with that? Why does he like homeless people? Okay, so. I'm grateful for, well, actually, I can't assume that, you know, Smashing Pumpkins is actually, I can't assume anything anymore. Because what might appear like somebody's trying to help me, somebody could be paying them to do the opposite. That really hurts. So I know for sure, but I know that he'll get proof from me that he is trying to help me, even if he's paid to do the opposite. Because I'm innocent. Somebody's trying to frame me, possibly. He won't be able to win, whoever it is. But, so if it is coming back in any way, like being bad, don't believe it. But anyways, okay, so we will do this. Book 1. Okay, it starts with the old man. Tika Whalen. So Tika Whalen is a beautiful red-haired girl. She seems to be synchronized as my brother's wife. If I was Raceland, if my left side, my liberal side or whatever was Raceland or Raceland, whatever his name is, Tika Whalen would be his wife, which makes a lot of sense because she has red hair. Air is the air elements represents marriage, and they were met on the landline, so Wayland, that's how she would be his wife. So funny. So let me read this. So Tika Whalen straightened her back with a sigh, flexing her shoulders to ease her cramped muscles. She tossed the soapy bar rag into the water pail and glanced around the empty room. It was getting harder to keep up the old inn. There was a lot of love rubbed into the warm finish of the wood, but even love and tallow couldn't hide the cracks and splits in the wood in the well-used table, or prevent a customer from sitting on an occasional splinter. The inn of the last home was not fancy, not like some she's heard about in Haven. So Haven is a town that is... Okay, so here's a picture of the inn of the last home. And Haven is a town that is like right around the corner. Right now, they are in Solace, and Haven is over there. Solace, Haven. Okay, so it was comfortable. The living tree in which it was built wrapped its ancient arms around it lovingly, while the walls and fixtures were crafted around the boughs of the tree with such care as to make it impossible to tell where nature's work left off and man's began. The bars seemed to ebb and flow like a polished wave around the living wood that supported it. The stained glass in the window panes cast welcoming flashes of vibrant color across the room. Shadows were dwindling as noon approached. The inn of the last home would soon be open for business. Tika looked around and smiled in satisfaction. The tables were clean and polished. All she had left to do was sweep the floor. She began to shove aside the heavy wooden benches as Odik emerged from the kitchen, enveloped in fragrant steam. Odik is kind of a bigger guy. He owns the place. His name would mean sharing, gifting, making sure everyone is cared for and fed, and handing, which describes his name pretty well. So Otik. And he's famous for his spicy potatoes. Which is funny because that was my favorite dish in Utah. That was my favorite dish at the House of Tibet. And the location, if you were to look on the map, in the subconscious mind of these people, if Chrysania would be over here because of Atlantis, right? And so over here is like Utah. That's where they are right now. They're over here. So it makes a lot of sense. Down here is kind of like LA, Tarsus, because that city used to be in better quality. But it went downhill. It's like Hollywood. It's so funny. And then over here, New York, or I guess, what is that? Is that Canada or something? Might be like, I don't know. Because it seems like New York is like this area over here. In the subconscious mind of the author. Or somewhere over there. I don't know where that is, you know? It's hard to tell. But that's where the fiery mountain came down and hit and changed the world. This world used to be something else. Before, in the past, a fiery mountain came down from the sky and hit it so hard that it changed the landscape. And so these people lived after that happened. And that's called the cataclysm. The cataclysm. When I first came across Amber, the birds made a song. I was working with the birds. They made a song about a turtle, and the Warcraft game was having her attack a turtle. And then she was playing the cataclysm. It was so weird. I was like, whoa, what the heck? Because in the legends where Chrysania gets introduced, he goes back to when the cataclysm happened. The wizard Raceland or whatever. So it's so weird how everything connects to our story. It's so cool. Anyways, should be another brisk day for both the weather and business, he said, squeezing his stout body behind the bar. He began to set out mugs, whistling cheerfully. I'd like the business cooler and the weather warmer, said Tika, tugging at the bench. I walked my feet off yesterday and got little thanks and less tips. Such a gloomy crowd. Everybody nervous, jumping at every sound. I dropped a mug last night, and I swear. Rhetoric drew his sword. Pah, Odick snorted. Rhetoric's solace seeker guard. They're always nervous. You would be too if you had to work for Hederick, the fanatic. She said, watch it, Tika warned, to cut him off. So Hederick, I don't really know who that would represent. We'll just keep going. Odick shrugged. Unless the high theocrat can fly now, he won't be listening to us. I'd hear his boots on the stairs before he could hear me. But Tika noticed he lowered his voice as he continued. The residents of Solace won't put up with much more. Mark my words. People disappearing, being dragged off to who knows where. It's a sad time. He shook his head. Then he brightened. But it's good for business. Until he closes us down, Tika said gloomily. She grabbed the broom and began sweeping briskly. Even theocrats need to fill their bellies and wash the fire and brimstone from their throats. Odick chuckled. It must be thirsty work. How do you say that word? What is that? Haranguing people about the new gods day in and day out. He's in here every night. Tika stopped here sweeping and leaning against the bar. Odick, she said seriously, her voice subdued. There's other talk too. Talk of war. Armies massing in the north. And there are these strange hooded men in town, hanging around with a high theocrat, asking questions. Now keep in mind that what's going on in this story already happened. This is like, it seems to synchronize to my childhood, to the 90s, before Palm B's time, because she's younger than me. I don't want to say names, but it's weird how the synchronicity goes, because the portal of the abyss would represent a computer monitor or Twitch. You'll find out later. Because I caught on to this because of my friend Tasseloff Burfoot, who is actually Lorana if she walked to LA. It's so funny. That's like the nuisance, that would represent the nuisance part of her, Tasseloff Burfoot. And it shows that she gets stuck later in the other trilogy. She gets stuck in the portal of the abyss on her bed. So funny. So it's like letting me know that she's a fan of Twitch. She's probably gonna watch this and watch the whole thing, you know? So it makes a lot of sense. Okay. So, Tika stopped her sweeping and leaned against the bar. Odick, she said seriously. Oh, never mind. Odick looked like a 19-year-old girl fondly. Looked at the 19-year-old girl fondly. She's younger. Reached out and patted her cheek. He'd been father to her ever since her own had vanished so mysteriously. He tweaked her red curls. War, pooh, he sniffed. There's been talk of war ever since the cataclysm. It's just talk, girl. Maybe the theocrat makes it up just to keep people in line. I don't know, Tika frowned. The door opened. Both Tika and Odik started in alarm and turned to the door. They had not heard footsteps on the stairs, and that was uncanny. The inn of the last home was built high in the branches of a mighty Valenwood tree, as was every other business in Solace with the exception of the blacksmith shop. The townspeople had decided to take to the trees during the terror and chaos following the cataclysm, and thus Solace became a tree town, one of the few truly beautiful wonders left on Kryn. Sturdy wooden bridge walks connected the houses, and businesses perched high above the ground, where 500 people went about their daily lives. The Inn of the Last Home was the largest building in Solace and stood 40 feet off the ground. Stairs ran around the ancient Valenwood gnarled trunk. As Odik had said, any visitor to the inn would be heard approaching long before he was seen. But neither Tika nor Odik had heard the old man. He stood in the doorway, leaning on a worn oak staff and peering around the inn. The tattered hood of his plain gray robe was drawn over his head, its shadow obscuring the features of his face except for his hawkish, shining eyes. That is a good description. I've been tripping out that this would represent the president of the Mormon Church. I'm not going to explain any of the reasons why. Just because, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything negative about anybody. So, I'm not going to go there. But it's not going to be offensive to anybody. People are going to enjoy it. But what's really cool about the whole story is that they would all be perfect as actors or actresses if there was actually a movie. So I'm going to actually try to get people's permission to post their pictures and stuff so you can see what they look like. The people that I'm talking about, they're synchronized to. And you can see the proof that authors responded to readers on my TikTok. Tika stopped her sweeping. Oh, wait. That is his hawkish, shining eyes. That's... Doesn't he look kind of hawkish? How does that... He looks like kind of hawkish. I don't know. He kind of looks like Tasselhoff Burfoot in a weird way. And you'll kind of find that too. They look kind of related when you see them both. I want to pay my friend to put her hair in a top knot so I can take a picture of her. Actually, when I'm reading this, I'm gonna send her the link and stuff so she can watch it too. Everybody that's in this story, I'm gonna send them this. They're gonna really go, what the heck? And yes, just like the story said, she's gonna be stuck on her bed, trapped on the abyss, watching me on the other side of a monitor screen. Just like I said in the story that she's gonna do. Anyways, the other people might be too busy, but Tasselhoff Burfoot will probably do it the most. Anyways, so what saves her? I forget how it goes. Somebody saves her from the bed, like a tinker gnome or something. It's funny. I'm so excited to read it to find out, because it's really important. It'll be really helpful, because we only lived once, and so it has to come from somewhere. And I've already read this 3 times, so like it will have to do with me. It's so weird, because it's like what I'm introducing is so big that it's giving me really helpful advice, and it's really important for me to know about it, you know, so that I can make sure I'm not those characters. Because wrestling or whatever, he was a villain, And Tanis, I don't really know. Like, I need to read everything, try to figure it out. Because I think Raceland should have liked Chrysania more. Who would be Palm Beast's character. With a white robe that joined the white moon instead of the red one and the black one. Which would represent daughters now, I think, because of the dreams that I had of my 3 sons. So that's really cool. That makes a lot of sense. Anyways, okay. So, can I help you, old man? Tika asked the stranger, exchanging worried glances with Odik. Was this old man a secret spy? Eh? The old man blinked. You open? Well, Tika hesitated. Certainly, Odik said, smiling broadly. Come in, Greybeard. Tika, find our guest a chair. He must be tired after that long climb. Climb? Scratching his head, the old man glanced around the porch, then looked down to the ground below. Oh, yes, climb. A great many stairs. Does that mean he's had a lot of kids? Hopefully that's true. With everybody that's in the story. He hobbled inside, then made a playful swipe at Tika with his staff. Get along with your work, girl. I'm capable of finding my own chair. Tika shrugged, reached for her broom, and began sweeping, keeping her eyes on the old man. He stood in the center of the inn, peering around as though confirming the location and position of each table and chair in the room. The common room was large and bean-shaped, wrapping around the trunk of the Valenwood. The tree's smaller limbs supported the floor and ceiling. He looked with particular interest at the fireplace, which stood about 3/4 of the way back into the room. The only stonework of the inn was obviously crafted by dwarven hands to appear to be a part of the tree. That would mean people that are constantly trying to get taller by drinking or something like that. So, like, I don't know. Dwarven. It's funny. Maybe it's like, I don't know, people that spend a lot more time than they needed to to make, put a lot of detail in it. Like they were always on something. Maybe, I don't know. But that's not necessarily true. Maybe it means that they didn't do anything because they were short. Because if they were giants, then you knew that they were drinking. But dwarven spirits is the most common drink. And so, what is that? Because growing taller would represent drinking, usually, to the subconscious mind of people. So, okay, so he stood in the center of the inn, peering around as though confirming the location and position of each table and chair in the room. The common room was large and bean-shaped, wrapping around the trunk of the Valenwood. The tree's smaller limbs supported the floor and ceiling. He looked with particular interest at the fireplace, which stood about 3/4 of the way back into the room. The only stonework... I already said all this. I'm so sorry. Okay. Dwarves. Yes, I said that. Okay. A bin next to the side of the fire pit was stacked high with cord wood and pine logs brought down from the high mountains. Maybe I should look at the timestamp here. Okay, 39, because I can cut that part out. I'll keep something next time. I'll remember that. 39. It's like every time I mess up, I'll add pictures and stuff so people can see everything, and I'll do that. That'll be cool. Okay, so a bin next to the side. Okay, The only stonework a bin next to the side of the fire pit was stacked high with cordwood and pine logs brought down from the high mountains. No resident of Solace would consider burning the wood of their own great trees. There was a back route out the kitchen. It was a 40-foot drop, but a few of Odik's customers found this setup very convenient. So did the old man. He muttered satisfied comments to himself as his eyes went from one area to another. Then, to Tika's astonishment, he suddenly dropped his staff, hitched up the sleeves of his robes, and began arranging the furniture. Now, the staff has represented Facebook, so this would mean that he checked out Facebook, and now he's starting to arrange the furniture. Tika stopped sweeping and leaned on her broom. It could represent MySpace too, because that was before Facebook, and this is the beginning of the story. So Facebook might be later on. I don't know. It's just, it'll make a lot more sense to the people that are in this story than it will to people that are listening to me explain this. No resident of Solace, that's a town they're in, would consider burning wood of their own great trees. There was a back route of the kitchen. It was a 40-foot drop, but a few of Odik's customers found this setup very convenient, and so did the old man. Okay, I said that part too. So 39 and 41. He muttered satisfied comments to himself, and his eyes went from one area to another. Then, to Tika's astonishment, he suddenly dropped his staff, hitched up the sleeves of his robes, and began rearranging the furniture. Tika stopped sweeping and leaned on her broom. "What are you doing? That table's always been there." A long, narrow table stood in the center of the common room. The old man dragged it across the floor and shoved it up against the trunk of the huge vallenwood, right across from the fire pit, then stepped back to admire his work. "There," he grunted. Suppose to be closer to the fire pit. Now bring over 2 more chairs. Need 6 around here." Supposed to be closer to the fire pit, so he's trying to like get somebody to so fire has represented like maybe being aroused or something like that. Or maybe getting angry, so it's like he's, I don't know, he's doing something. And then let's see, there, he grunted. Okay, so need 6 around here. Tika turned to Odik. He seemed about to protest, but at that moment there was a flaring light from the kitchen. A scream from the cook indicated that the grease had caught fire again. If the president of the Mormon Church is guilty of anything, only he's gonna know. Everybody that follows a story isn't gonna see that, just so you know. You don't have anything to worry about. You don't have to ban anything. Fizz ban the fabulous. It might make sense being fabulous because of Jenny Greenteeth and being aware of her, and maybe like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really get it. He'll understand it more than me. Maybe it represents a side of him nobody else is supposed to know about. It's like Absolutely Fabulous, one of her favorite shows. Anyways, so Okay, so where is it? Okay, so he turned to Odick. He seemed about to protest, but at that moment, there was a flaring light from the kitchen. A scream from the cook indicated that the grease had caught fire again. Odick hurried toward the swinging kitchen doors. I said that. He's harmless, he puffed out as he passed Tika. Let him do what he wants, within reason. Maybe he's throwing a party. Tika sighed and took 2 chairs over to the old man as requested. She set them where he indicated. Now, the old man said, glancing around sharply, bring 2 more chairs, comfortable ones, mind you, over here. Put them next to the fire pit in the shadowy corner. Tisn't shadowy, Tika protested. It's sitting in full sunlight. Or she's saying it's not shadowy, it's actually in the sunlight. Ah, the old man's eyes narrowed. But it will be shadowy tonight, won't it? When the fire's lit. Oh, I suppose so, Tika faltered. And so, what the heck is going on there? So he would be doing something for... So he's... Okay, so this makes a lot of sense to me. Because he was always... Because the Mormon Church was always like watching everybody else. Because they're just like, you know... They're like... What are we going to do, you know? I don't know. Those people are pretty interesting. What are they doing? So it makes sense. So he knows that all these people are going to come. And he's preparing for it. Okay? That is definitely something that would really fit his character. I'm not going to really understand what all of this is about as much as him. So, hopefully he's okay with everything I'm doing. If he has a problem, just let me know. And I can bleep out when I say his name or whatever. Same goes with anybody else. But I'm going to ask them all for permission to use our pictures and stuff. Because it is really funny. So, because it seems to be trying to make sure that our country never goes to war. It's really cool. So, because I'm introducing the 2020s, it makes sense that it'd be following me. Okay, so okay. Bring the chairs. That's a good girl. I want one right here. The old man gestured at a spot in front of the fire pit. For me. Are you giving a party, old man? Tika asked as she carried over the most comfortable wear-worn chair of the inn. In the inn. A party? The thought seemed to strike the old man as funny. See right there, the timing of my thoughts and everything was like kind of like, be careful, you don't want, you know, him to get hurt or something because of how you've been banned. So, the thought seems to, because the name Fizzban, okay, so this old man, people don't know his name yet. They'll find out later. But Fizzban is, his name means claiming, balancing scale, the synchronizing. Maybe it's what I thought Mark was doing to me. Maybe he actually did it. Maybe he knows the Mormon Church did it, or somebody in the Mormon Church, and maybe he's trying to help me. Maybe that would make sense. So, weird. So, Fizzban, so it's claiming, measuring, making sure everyone's cared for, whatever, and then synchronizing, and then ban. So it's like banning what I was trying to do to help people. That would make a lot of sense, because I need to sue them. to make sure that they stop doing that. Because what I made was for the people that made it possible. They name themselves in a way that would get their attention. So they deserve to get it. This wouldn't be possible if they didn't want to know what they did. They deserve to get it from me because they gave it to me. So if you have concerns and stuff, you can share them with me. You don't have to ban me. The thought seemed to strike the old man as funny. He chuckled. Yes, girl, it will be a party such as the world of Kryn has not seen since before the cataclysm. See, how would he know this? Before the cataclysm, that's before, like, what would you compare that to? An atomic bomb or something? I don't know. It shattered the landscape. It, like, changed the land. It was so big. Be ready, Tika Whalen. Be ready. He patted her shoulder, tousled her hair, turned her, and lowered himself, bones creaking, into the chair. Really? Are you kidding? Okay, so in the 80s and the 90s, we used to do this in school. Hey, can I have your number? You know, it kind of means like how the phone used to be before they were cell phones. So it kind of means, because I know that they were doing this to people everywhere, that the Mormon Church might have a record of my brother's wife, and, you know, they might have spied on her a little bit. Crazy. Like, hello, we're the church, blah, blah, blah. We're trying to blah, blah, blah. Are you interested? Anyways. But I mean, on my side, I know they were doing a bit more than that. It was very snoopy to try to see if we would join or whatever. He patted her shoulder, tousled her hair, then turned and lowered himself, bones creaking, into the chair. A mug of ale, he ordered. Tika went to pour the ale. It wasn't until she had brought the old man his drink and gone back to her sweeping that she stopped, wondering how he knew her name. So, this old man appeared, and he seems to know what's going to happen before it happens. So. Ale, because of its bitter thing, it might be trying to warn him that he's been endangering my life from banning me, from not allowing me to share. He should be directing traffic my way to save me. Anyways, so I mean, there's really nothing negative or nothing bad that'll be said about anybody in the story. It's pretty cool. I really, really love it. So what? So it's at 53. So that's cool. It doesn't take very long. I'll do this every day. It'll be really cool. I'll put the pictures in it and everything. There's actually a lot of Dragonlance art online. Every single chapter will have several pictures and stuff. And I'll be able to show every picture will be like, whoa, magical, respawning. It definitely deserves a lot of publicity. And it's not going to be embarrassing for anybody. If it is, just let me know and I'll cut out something or change something around or whatever. So right now, I'm wondering if this girl's too embarrassed to meet me. Like maybe she's like afraid that I won't like her or something, you know? So So, yeah, I've never met her. I haven't sent her anything. What I tried to send her in the mail actually was returned to my car. And somebody thought it was funny to put a poster at my car that said, you know, beware people stealing mail. That's messed up. That's a felony. That's a felony. Breaking into my car, too. Somebody thinks that's funny. Anyways, why am I freaking out over the possibilities that somebody pretended to be me to trick that girl? I could have had her do anything. It's so scary. Because, I mean, have you seen what she was doing for me? Have you seen what she did for me? They had to have known. I've been hacked and stuff. That's really scary to think about. Somebody could have thought, this girl's desperate to meet me, and then just did all this stuff, controlling her, getting her to do all this stuff for him, pretending to be me. I don't even know. I haven't done anything. I've been trying to contact her, and I haven't been able to contact her. But I don't want to go there. I'm just wondering why these thoughts are entering my head right now. They're not mine. They're always coming from somewhere else. So I'll just spare you the thoughts coming from other people, I guess. Okay. Well, Dragonlance is a really cool story. I kind of want to read another chapter, honestly. So, okay, maybe I'll read another chapter. I really like this, because this will make a lot more sense when I get into this, okay? So book 1. Isn't that cool? Got a bunch of treasure. Ooh, look at this guy. So there's a tree, it's been cut off. Old friends meet, a rude interruption. So a rude interruption, this ring is cutting off this tree. Does that represent somebody's family tree they're trying to have? Look, this guy, look at this goblin guy. Look, his sword. Look how long it is if it's not right there. My gosh, why are there diamonds there where he's negative? That would represent where he's negative. He's all, argh, like he's trying to stop something from happening. Okay, so Flint Fire Forge collapsed on a moss-covered boulder. Flint Fire Forge, what does that mean? Flint is kind of like that. F is claiming. And then Fire Forge is like stoking passion or violence. a dwarf wants to grow taller, so there's dwarven spirits, their drink, right? So there's like, it represents like a friend that's kind of like wants to get into trouble, kind of, maybe. You know what I mean? And, which makes a lot of sense because I was younger, and you know, my friends were older than me, and Flint Fireforge is a lot older than everybody. So to me, he's representing like maybe the people that were a bad influence on me. Get it? Who I knew as a child. So Flint Fireforge collapsed on a moss-covered boulder. His old dwarven bones had supported him long enough and were unwilling to continue without complaint. This is going to be so weird to my friends. They're seriously going to go, oh my god, and there's going to be a lot of people watching this. I should have never left, Flint grumbled. Looking down into the valley below, he spoke aloud, though there was no sign of another living person about. Long years of solitary wandering had forced the dwarf into a habit of talking to himself. He slapped both hands on his knees. I'll be damned if I'm ever leaving again, he announced vehemently. Vehemently? Really? How do you say that? Vehemently? Warmed by the afternoon sun, the boulder felt comfortable to the ancient dwarf, who had been walking all day in the chill autumn air. Flint relaxed and let the warmth seep into his bones. The warmth of the sun and the warmth of his thoughts, because he was home. The thoughts that were entering my head were like my friend that I grew up with that was always 4 years older than me. And maybe he probably liked my mom, and he probably liked my little sisters. They were all very beautiful. So that part made a lot of sense just there. He was older than me, and he got me into trouble because of wanting to grow taller. Does that make sense? Warmed by the afternoon sun, the boulder felt comfortable to the ancient dwarf, who had been walking all day in the chill autumn air. Flint relaxed and let the warmth seep into his bones. The warmth of the sun. And, I'm sorry, I said that already. The warmth of his thoughts, because he was home. I never did anything to him. Not me. Anyways. He looked around him, his eyes lingering fondly over the familiar landscape. As far as I know, that didn't happen in my house. But I think my friend didn't tell me everything. The mountainside below him, I found out because of the street names told me. The mountainside below him formed one side of a high mountain bowl, carpeted in autumn splendor. Well, see, this guy actually was the one who got me to try it for the very first time. The Valenwood trees in the valley were ablaze in the season's colors. The brilliant reds and golds, ready to be old because we're growing up too fast. Yeah. Azure sky among the trees were repeated in the waters of Crystalmere Lake. Really? They're saying that he got into Crystal? I hope that's not true. Thin columns of smoke curled among the treetops, the only sign of the presence of solace. A soft spreading haze blanketed the vale with the sweet aroma of home fires burning. Weird. As Flint sat and rested, he pulled a block of wood and a gleaming dagger from his pack, his hands moving without conscious thought. since time uncounted. His people had always had the need to shape the shapeless to their liking. He himself had been a metalsmith of some renown before his retirement some years earlier. He was actually a genius. He actually is. I'm thinking about my friend I grew up with. He put the knife to the wood, then his attention caught. Flint's hands remained idle as he watched the smoke drift up from the hidden chimneys below. "My home's fire's gone out," Flint said softly. "Hopefully that's true. He needs to quit." This was what I'm describing is my teenage years. Isn't that weird? My home, see, that's why Christianity hasn't appeared yet, because she's younger than me. It's really important for her to know, actually, everything that happened. So it's a really cool way to share it, you know. I'm looking forward to taking turns with pictures and everything coming from our childhood to prove that we were there, the echo of us, because I know she would pick up on me. Hopefully it's not the reason she got into girls, but just kidding. Do I look like a girl? Just kidding. I thought she looked like Deanna Troi from Star Trek. Where I first saw her, where I actually knew it was her, it was at the Sky Bar. Air element is marriage, means marriage, and bar means B is warning, A is caring, and R is heading. And then she was on top of Marina Street. Marina Sirtis is an actress name. I thought about that girl my whole life as if she's looking at me from the other side of pictures and stuff. That's why I'm convinced that those dreams are real and that it was actually her. I know Palm Beach had the same dreams because my sister and I figured that out when we were kids. We've been proving it to people since we were children, that people in the dream world are real and had the same dreams. Anyways, okay, so his fire's gone out, he said softly. He shook himself, angry at feeling sentimental, and began slicing at the wood with a vengeance. Really? He grumbled loudly. I wish he would watch this. I'm gonna let him know. My house had been sitting empty. Roof probably leaked. Ruined the furniture. Stupid quest. Silliest thing I ever did. That's funny. I used to hang out at this place called the Trash Pit, and the top was caved in. So this place they rented was only like $300. So everybody's paying like only $50 a month. This is where Tesla Burfoot lived. On this street, whenever they'd break up a party, people would just go across the street and continue the party. And so they couldn't like stop it. There was a place called the Trash Pit. There's a place called the Junkyard that had a bunch of art sculptures in the yard and stuff. There's a place called the Trash Pit, all right next to each other on 2nd South. They'd share it on the news. Like, we're trying to stop this street from partying, they won't stop. Anyways, so my house has been, okay, so roof probably leaked, ruined the furniture, stupid quest, silliest thing I've ever did. 148 years. 1 for 8. I ought to have learned. That's weird. That's 1 for 8. That's reminding me of the time when he just stood doing like energy work for a long time, and he was just going, I figured out how to eat, and now I don't need food anymore. It's like, what? Everybody's like, that's not good. But I figured it out later that he was talking about the future. So he wasn't eating enough. So he needs food. That's really sad. So, anyways, I ought to have learned. You'll never learn, dwarf, a distant voice answered him. Not if you live to be 248. 248. Dang it. There, I'm saying that I did it too. That's not good. Dropping the sword, the dwarf's hands moved with calm assurance from the dagger to the handle of the axe as he peered down the path. The wood sounded familiar, the first familiar voice he's heard in a long time, but he couldn't place it. Flint squinted into the setting sun. He thought he saw the figure of a man striding up the path. Standing, Flint drew back into the shadow of a tall pine to see better. The man's walk was marked by an easy grace, an elfish grace. Flint would have said, yet the man's body had the thickness and tight muscles of a human. I feel like they said there that the person changes the sound of nature when he walks. That would make sense because I was vegan. Like, pulling on the ears is like, I've learned I'm not going to be mean to the bugs anymore. Being an elf, you know? It's like a parent pulled on the ears and go, don't do that. Because of being mean to bugs or something. Makes sense? And so, maybe it's super nice, you know? I was vegan for 7 years around this time when this happened. So it's so weird. And then, and so, okay. So Flint, blah, 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 blah. An elvish grace. So his body was thick and tight muscles of a human, while the facial hair was definitely humankind's. All the dwarf could see of the man's face beneath the green hood was tan skin and a brownish red beard. So that's interesting there, because the only red I've had in my hair that was red was right there. My beard used to be red. But he doesn't know me as that, though. I didn't have a beard when he knew me. So that's interesting. But, so this is Tanis that they're describing. That would be, represent my conservative side. My right side. This is so weird. How much this fits everything. Okay, so a long bow was slung over one shoulder. I'll probably make this very short, and the commentary I'll do, you know, I'll cut it out or whatever and have it somewhere else. Because I don't want people to, you know, like, oh, we don't care about your life, what the hell? But I don't know. That's not really true. The street names responded to me. They're gonna want to know. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so don't let them trick you into that everybody already knows. They have to know. They don't know anything. They need to know. Because I'm not getting enough views and stuff. Amber needs to fix it. Bunch of okay. Well, that makes sense. She probably should have figured out that she's supposed to meet me. So stop blocking us. Maybe in the mind of somebody else. I don't know. So let me see. Where did this go? Okay, so a long bow was slung over one shoulder, and a sword hung at his left side. That's weird, because I have a scar on my leg It's where, it's right here. Where's that? Okay, I have a scar where Orion's tip would be. Oh wait, his tip goes to the other side, huh? Hold on. Where is the scar? Oh, there it is. So he said the left side, okay. That makes sense because it's Tanis. He's the right side, he's a conservative. He's in denial. Nothing ever happened. He is not Orion in the sky. The red bearded half elf. So funny. Okay, so it's so humiliating. Oh my gosh. He was dressed in soft leather. So he has a beard, so it's like he's definitely not Raceland. Raceland looks kind of like a girl with his, golden skin and everything. It's like the version of me with makeup on. And then Tanis is like the version of me that's normal. So funny. He was dressed in soft leather, carefully tooled in the intricate designs the elves loved. But no elf in the world of Kryn could grow a beard. No elf but Tanis. Tanis halfway to Utah. Because Tasselhoff would become Lorana if she walked here. If she became Wanderlust. That'd be so cool if Ben would do that. I want Ben to walk here with Jenny. That'd be so cool. Just because, it's only 2 weeks. It'll only take him 2 weeks. I would walk here. I want to go there and just walk here. Just for the hell of it. It'd be kind of fun. Just to walk all the way across the country. That'd be fun. Just to see how long it takes. It'd take a long time. It'd probably take like 2 months. Just because you get so tired, I would do it with you now. I thought somebody was sending me. Okay, what is that? Did a raccoon just hiss at me? Yikes. Okay. Okay, I lost my place. Okay, Tanis, said Flint hesitantly as a man neared. The same. The newcomer's bearded face split in a wide grin. He held open his arms, and before the dwarf could stop him, engulfed Flint in a hug that lifted him off the ground. The dwarf clasped his old friend close for a brief instant. That makes sense, because they used to call me Huggy. Like, they used to say, you hug everybody. Some people would get annoyed by it. I would, seriously hug everybody. Whenever I saw them, I always hugged them. If I saw somebody more than once, I'd hug them. And sometimes I'd be like, what is that? Why is he doing that? I did that, my whole life. Except, actually, that's not true. When I moved to Idaho, I stopped doing it, I guess. When I got the beard, it became Tanis. But this is my childhood beard. So, let's see. The dwarf clasped his friend. Wait. The newcomer's bearded face split in a wide grin. He held open his arms, and before the dwarf could stop him, engulfed Flint a hug, blah, 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 blah. The dwarf clasped his old friend close for a brief instant, then remembered his dignity, squirmed, and freed himself from the half-elf's embrace. That's true. Well, you've learned no manners in 5 years. The dwarf grumbled. but still no respect for my age or my station. I used to lean on my friend a lot. I used to like lean on him. I'm so thankful that he was older than me a few years. We never like messed around or anything. Like a lot of kids usually did, and they keep a secret, you know. But I'm lucky in that way. My best friends were older than me, so they knew not to do that. I still messed up, but they weren't like there all the time. So I still did embarrassing normal things that all the kids did, you know. So, well, you learned no manners in 5 years, the dwarf grumbled. Still no respect for my age or my station. Hoisting me around like a sack of potatoes. Flint peered down the road. I hope no one who knows us saw us. I doubt there are many who remember us. True. Tannis said, his eyes studying his stocky friend fondly. He was never stocky. Time doesn't pass for you and me, but he ate nonstop. Old friend, or old dwarf, as it does for humans. 5 years is a long time for them. A few moments for us. Then he smiled. You haven't changed. The same can't be said of others. Flint sat back down on the stone and began to carve once more. He scowled up at Tannis. Why the beard? You were ugly enough. Tannis scratched his chin. I have been in lands that were not friendly to those of elven blood. I moved to Idaho, and I didn't want them to know that I was goth. So I grew a beard. So I became conservative. The beard, a gift from my human heritage. A gift from my human father. True. It's because of my dad. He said with bitter irony. Did much to hide my heritage. Flint grunted. He knew that wasn't the complete truth. Although the half-elf abhorred killing, Tannis would not be one to hide from a fight behind the beard. Wood chips flew. Everything I said was true. I have been in lands that were not friendly to anyone of any kind of blood. Flint turned the wood in his hand, examining it. But we're home now. That's all, and all that's behind us. Not from what I've heard, Tannis said, drawing his hood up over his face again to keep the sun out of his eyes. The high seekers in Haven appointed a man named Hederick to govern as high theocrat in Solace, and he's turned the town into a hotbed of fanaticism with his new religion. Tannis and the dwarf both turned and looked down into the quiet valley. Lights began to wink on, making the homes in the trees visible among the ballenwood. The night air was still and calm and sweet. So there's a bunch of houses up in all the trees. There's like bridges connecting them. Now and again they could hear the faint sound of a mother calling her children to dinner. I've heard of no evil in Solace, Flint said quietly. Religious persecution, inquisitions, Tannis's inquisitions. Inquisitions. Tanis's voice sounded ominous, coming from the depths of his hood. It was deeper, more somber than Flint remembered. The dwarf frowned. His friend had changed in 5 years, and elves never change. But then Tanis was only half-elven, a child of violence. That's true. I was violent. But I got out of it when I became in... it wasn't true in junior high. In junior high, I became a bully of bullies, and then didn't... Why not? It was true. I bullied the bullies, and then there was no violence after that. I was a bully in elementary school, and then when I was in 2nd grade, I beat up a 6th grader, and then the next day his friend jumped me who was in 5th grade, and then I don't want to say I beat him up, but I mean I was on top. I don't care. That used to matter to me. Why would I care? Because my brother knew what would make me like king of the school. And so at like 2nd or 3rd grade, I was like king of the school. That's why I'm confident. That's why with the Scientology or whatever, I haven't really looked into that stuff. I'm not responsive if somebody calls this a bank. I'll fight. I'm not the kind of person who runs away. You can probably tell. I'm not the kind of person who gets conned either, or scared. The scariest people are always with me. Anyways, in junior high, I would get together. There was like a kid that was picking on okay, so in 3rd grade, people stopped fighting me because they just wouldn't. Because like if somebody said that they were tough, I would just feel like I had to fight them because I had to prove that I was the toughest. And that was really stupid. That was like following my dad. You know, that was how he was. He like, at least that's what we thought. He's not really like that though. But the way he is though, he's the scariest person I ever met pretty much. I mean, he seriously scared the hell out of me when they did the reverse psychology AA meeting. Seriously, he scared the hell out of me. And they used the reason my grandfather's finger was missing to scare me straight or whatever. I seriously freaked out. But I mean, the way that he drives around and stuff, like boss, you know, like he looks at everybody. Like every time he's driving anywhere, he like looks. Like he has to know who's driving and stuff. And he's always like, you know, I'm tougher than you. Rah! It's kind of like his... That's why that I'm Afraid of Americans song really makes sense when they're talking about Johnny. And he always makes jokes. He's cracking jokes. Because he go to the stores, the grocery stores and stuff, and he crack jokes. Johnny likes pussy and cars. John is an American. Da-da-da. Makes a lot of sense. That's my dad. Because he was scary. He really was. But anyways, so I was trying to impress him, you know. It was stupid. I was just a little kid. And then I stopped in 3rd grade. And then when I went to the new school in middle school, in junior high, I would bully the bullies. And I wouldn't really have to get into fights though. I could get help from other people and we just scare them. Like there was this kid that was picking on this other kid for like being handicapped or something. And because he was practicing karate and he was like picking on him, you know. He was like pushing him and stuff. So, and then I talked to the kid who's being picked on. I was like, hey, I watched what was happening there. That's not okay. If you want, I'll help you. Like tomorrow or something, or next time you go to class, or when does that guy do that to you again? And he's like, well, after class, when I go to my next class, he's gonna do it. He always picks on me every day. So I was like, okay, how about, and I talked to this other guy. He was like one of the scariest kids in the school, because he was like, not really in the school, but in our class, because he's like a gangbanger looking kid, you know? So he like looked all bad. So they're like all scared of him, you know? And so I talked to him and I was like, hey, you want to help me teach this other kid a lesson? He's like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And so we're like, okay, we'll just follow behind you. Just don't do anything, okay? Don't do anything. Just walk to your next class and we'll follow behind you, and then just don't do anything. And if he picks on you, we'll stop him. And he didn't follow my instructions at all. Instead, he just points at him and he goes, there he is, guys. It was so funny. And then so the guy comes over and he's all, what'd you get your little friends to stick up for you? And then he comes over and he looks at us. And then he just ran. So funny. It was like the people he would have wanted to confront the least, you know. It's not even like we were dangerous or anything. It was stupid. It's funny though. But that was pretty much the last of it. Then after that, I was just nice, you know. I was nice. I got into goth, and then I was too bad. The only classes I went to were if a cute girl was in it. I moved out and got my own place at 15. And yeah. So anyways, okay. Although the half health, okay. You said with bitter irony, the beard, a gift from my human father, he said with bitter irony, did much to hide my heritage. Flint grunted. That's funny because my mom she liked, okay, I would look kind of gay for her. The makeup thing and stuff was kind of for her, because she was a lesbian. She got into a phase where she hated men, and so I was trying to be accepted by her. That's kind of why I started wearing makeup. I wasn't gay, but I was just got into the goth thing because I found a way to be able to be the way I wanted and feel like I was being accepted. Anyways, so I have, and so, okay. The same can't be said of others. Flint sat back. You can see me, the very first picture I took with my mom when I had a beard, she's going like, ew, her face is doing that. It's so funny. She hates the conservative look. Seems like. Oh well. I probably shouldn't tell people that. You get in trouble. Okay, so she was always in other countries partying with other flight attendants, you know. Not really partying, I don't know. But she was always gone, so I was lucky because my friend would babysit with me and spend the night, you know, on school nights and everything. That's why I was automatically cool when I was a kid. So other kids, you know, they didn't have a place where everybody could go. So isn't that sad? Bad kids aren't supposed to be cool. It's really sad. That messed me up. Because I was actually wanting to be legal. I was wanting to be drug free and everything. But they kind of took advantage of me. So, I mean, it's not totally right, but a little bit. My little sisters, you know, I don't really know how far that went, but I guess I do now because of street names and stuff. I forgive him. He hasn't even said sorry. Well, the same can't be said of others. We had kind of a falling out. I love my friend, though. I want to see him again. All of them. So. Ow, my butt is hurting. Ow. Okay. So, maybe I should walk. Somebody's... I want to cut that out. What is it? 136. Somebody be cussing in the background. Okay, so hold on, let me move this over here. So I don't want to have to cut out anybody. This is really cool because I'll be able to upload this to my, I'll be able to get a bunch of Dragonlance pictures, you know, and I'll put the commentary about, the personal commentary on the side, you know. I talk too much. I'll do that on the side. People don't need to know that. So I'll have like just the Dragonlance thing, and then if people want to know about the synchronization, they can look into that. But, it's very cool, though. It's so accurate. So wow. But I mean, that would be seriously true, that all those characters would be the best actors or actresses. Seriously. My brother's wife would seriously make such a good Tika. If she like curled her hair and stuff, that would look so cool. And Tasselhoff Burfoot, especially. See, that's the hardest one. That's the hardest one. To think about trying to find an actor for Tasselhoff Burfoot. She's actually a female. But it makes a lot of sense. The Hopek. It's so funny. Okay, so let me read this. Okay. Okay. You can see me okay? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so. The beard, a gift from my human father, he said with bitter irony, did much to hide my heritage. Flint grunted. He knew that wasn't the complete truth. Wait, I already read all this. Didn't I? Sorry. Tanis and the dwarf both turned and looked down into the quiet valley. Lights began to wink on, making the homes and the trees visible among the Valenwood. The night air was still and calm and sweet, tinged with the smell and smoke of wood smoke from the home fires. Now and again, they could hear the faint sound of a mother calling her children to dinner. I've heard of no evil in Solace, Flint said quietly. Religious persecution, inquisitions. Tanis's voice sounded ominous, coming from the depths of his hood. It was deeper, more somber than Flint remembered. The dwarf frowned. His friend had changed in 5 years, and elves never change. But then Tanis was only half-elven, a child of violence. his mother having been raped by a human warrior during one of the many wars that had divided the different races of Kryn in the chaotic years following the cataclysm. That's weird. I wonder what they would mean there. Because my dad would never rape her. Of course not. Maybe it's because of the just ridiculous stuff. You know? Like, him knowing more than other people. So maybe she would feel like people are aware of her a lot more, you know, or something like that. That would make sense, because he fought in Vietnam, and he's not a rapist. He's very far from rapist, because he's too beautiful. He did so beautifully, he wouldn't need to. You know, that's totally ridiculous to think that. But it is sad to think about what he would have possibly had to, you know, put up with other people, you know, who didn't look like him. That's part scary. And those Vietnam movies definitely do something there. But that's curious, though. My mom being raped by him. She tells us that she was a virgin and they got married until she married him. Yeah, right. It's far from rape. They were married for many years before they had kids. Having kids kind of what caused the divorce, honestly. A little bit. Not really, though. It seemed like it was probably the bugs. Because the kids, what the kids did, possibly. We did stuff like step on the bugs, and the bugs try to ruin our lives. Anyways, how sad. Well, I'm nice to bugs now. Tennis half felt and learned. His ears were not really pulled, but halfway. Because I know. Okay, so weird. Maybe it means that weird. No, I don't know. That's weird. Because of me making my accusations lately, maybe something like that happened. Like some guy was trying to contact her, but he couldn't. I doubt it, though, because my dad wasn't a part of anything that would do that. People's never really done that for him, as far as I know. Are they really going to have a bunch of, like, stuff that's, like... Because they were saying that... Because they were, like... It was saying, like... Because it was suggesting that I lied about something. I didn't lie about anything. But, I mean, it's not really them, so it doesn't really matter. But don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter. It's just curious to me, because, like, how could it be so accurate? I'm just using addition, so it's not like a big deal. But it is so weird how accurate it is, because they have to come up with their thoughts from somewhere else. But they certainly don't have to go along with something that's really out there. To do that would be like, you know, they probably have to make up stuff that's not true just to make sure it's not actually somebody else, if you think about it. Because if it was totally him, I mean, my dad is going to be so much better than this guy, you know? Of course. I mean, everybody is, you know? All the people are going to be better than those characters, in a way, you know? But they're cool characters, though. But I mean, they kind of did it like that. But it's all like symbolic. It'll like mean something. And it's usually something that only they know about. They'll be like, whoa, what does that mean? And they'll be like, and then they might have a dream about it. Has been my experience. And they'll be like, oh, I can't really tell. The author's just trying to warn me about this over here because of that. I needed to know about that. You know? Like my dad could have witnessed something that he was too scared to tell people about. That's very true. Because he was in Vietnam. Anyways, so what he told me, I think he told me, honestly. I'm surprised that he told me what he told me. He probably just confessed it, you know. Maybe he's probably just insane, thinks that everybody's aware of his brain, so he's just like, you know, being too honest. Yeah, do I really need to know about all that? Wow. That's horrible. Can't believe you told me about that. But yeah. Anyways. Okay, so crazy. Anyways, okay, so it's probably because I had to know about something, you know. That would make sense. It's probably going to be mentioned somewhere else in a way that's like helping me understand something and to help him, because he probably felt threatened. There was like, I don't know, I don't want to really talk about it, but it's just too heavy, it's too much. But his foxhole buddy though shot somebody else, and I don't know. It seemed like Pete's Dragon was kind of about that. Because of living once and everything. And he might have been too scared to tell people, like, everything that happened. It's probably... I mean, what he told me as a kid was, like, people would have yellow eyes, like they were gonna... And, like, kill him if he told anybody and stuff like that. Anyways, I mean, they wouldn't have, I don't want to be rude, but they wouldn't have looked like him, you know? But who knows what they would have done to get something, you know? So that's probably what they do. Because I mean, like with Raceland and his brother Carmen, with him being jealous or whatever, that seems to be symbolic for other things. It's surprising, but they'll know to put it in a way that it's like, well, you know it's not real, so you can handle it. So it's like, yeah, I know, but you needed to know about that, because like I'll have a dream or something like that, or the timing of my thoughts will let me know. And I'm like, oh wow, I did need to know about that. Anyways, so okay. Sorry. The chaotic years following the cataclysm. That makes sense. Ooh, the cataclysm already happened. So it's saying following the cataclysm. So the cataclysm does represent a nuclear bomb. And that's cool that they go back in time. Because, so it's kind of like Legends is like Raceland, maybe, I don't know, never mind. That's interesting. Wow. What the heck? Anyways, Inquisitions. That's only for those who defy the new theocrat, according to rumor, Flint snorted. I don't believe in the seeker gods, never did. But I don't parade my beliefs in the street, keep quiet and let you alone. That's my motto. The high seekers in Haven are still wise and virtuous men. It's just this one rotten apple in solace that's spoiling the whole barrel. By the way, did you find what you sought? Some sign of the ancient true gods? Tanis asked. Or peace of mind? I went seeking both. Which do you mean? Well, I assume one would go with the other, Flint growled. He turned the piece of wood in his hands, still not satisfied with his proportions. Are we going to stand here all night, smelling the cooking fires, or are we going to go into town and get some dinner? Go, Tanis waved. The two started down the path together, Tanis's long strides forcing the dwarf to take 2 steps to his one. Though it had been many years since they had journeyed together, Tanis unconsciously slowed his pace, while Flint unconsciously quickened his. So you found nothing? Flint pursued. Nothing? Nothing, Tanis replied. As we discovered long ago, the only clerics and priests in this world serve false gods. I heard tales of healing, but it was all trickery and magic. Fortunately, our friend Raceland taught me what to watch. Oh, I get it. Because he knows too much. Because he's delved into the left side more, right? Drugs and stuff. Get it? To know about the healing gods. And healing medicine, of course it's Raceland that's going to tell him. Raceland, Flint puffed. That pasty-faced, skinny magician, he's more than half Charlton himself, always sniveling and whining and poking his nose where it doesn't belong. If it weren't for his twin brother looking after him, someone would have put an end to his magic long ago. Tanis was glad his beard hid his smile. I think the young man was a better magician than you give him credit for, he said, and you must admit, he worked long and tirelessly to help those who were taken in by the fake clerics, as I did, he sighed. For which you got little thanks, no doubt, the dwarf muttered. That's true. There's always been a lot of cons and stuff out there. I never fell for any of them. For which, very, very little. People want to believe in something, even if deep inside they know it is false. But what of you? How was your journey to your homelands? Flint stumped along without answering, his face grim. Finally, he muttered, I should never have gone, and glanced up at Tanis, his eyes barely visible through the thick overhanging, I used to say Tanis, white eyebrows. informing the half-elf that this turn of the conversation was not welcome. Tanis saw the look, but asked his questions anyhow. What of the dwarven clerics? The stories were heard. Not true. The clerics vanished 300 years ago, during the cataclysm, said the elders. So say the elders. So that's interesting because Mormons call themselves elders. So the elders, so 300 years ago would mean oh, I get it. So food looks out. And so they're not going to believe anything, and they're not going to believe it or understand it until they've gone like on a fast in the desert or something like that, probably. It's kind of what they're saying. Much like the elves, Tanis mused. I saw, hissed. Tanis held out a warning hand. Flint came to a dead stop. What? He whispered. Tanis motioned. Over in that grove. Is it Tanis or Tanis? I always said Tanis. Flint peered toward the trees, at the same time reaching for the battle axe that was strapped behind his back. The red rays of the setting sun, glistening briefly on a piece of metal, flashing among the trees. Tanis saw it once, lost it, then saw it again. At that moment, though, the sun sank, leaving the sky glowing a rich violet and causing night shadows to creep through the forest trees. Are you kidding me? Flint squinted into the gloom. I don't see anything. I thought right there it was saying something that I needed to know about my sisters and how my friend liked both of them, and so it made them fight when they were kids. Before they knew about him. That's interesting. I did, Tanis said. He kept staring at the place where he'd seen the metal, and gradually his elven sight began to detect the warm red aura cast by all living beings, but visible only to elves. Who goes there? He called. The only answer for long moments was an eerie sound that made the hair rise on the half-elf's neck. It was a hollow world sound that started out low, then growing higher and higher, and eventually attained a high-pitched, screaming whine. Soaring with it came a voice. I thought right there, because it was emphasizing his elven side, that it was talking about ready vision and my mom. Never mind, I don't want to explain it. I guess it's too much. Elven wanderer, turn from your course and leave the dwarf behind. We are the spirits of those poor souls Flint Fireforge left on the barroom floor. Did we die in combat? The spirit voice soared to new heights, as did the whining, whirring sound accompanying it. No, we died of shame, cursed by the ghost of the grape for not being able to outdrink a hill dwarf. I thought right there, that's weird. Damn the eyes of the elves. I thought right there they're talking about, never mind, it's too much. It's just the timing of the thoughts I have is so funny. The spectral voice turned merry. And damn the beards of the dwarves. The eyes of the elves is like lesbians, I guess. It's just, and then beards of the dwarves is like Why did you have to be straight? Why did you have to follow your dad and be conservative? Flint's beard. Oh wait, wouldn't you know? Flint groaned. Tasselhoff Burfoot. So my friend, who I caught onto this with, her last name is McKendrick. It fits very well because she was very curious because of getting into like dark arts. For a little while, she had an opiate addiction, so that would explain the fearless part of it. And then, the Hopic is really funny as a weapon because she knew she had a lot of friends, lesbians usually, and they would have as a weapon. She could call them all, and they wouldn't come to your party. and so it's funny because it's like a Hopac with an extra. The way it's spelled, there's an extra O, so it's like sharing. Because she could fill up somebody's house full of people with just a few phone calls easily. She was a very popular girl. And the letter C means taking, and it means like traveling or going somewhere. So how the Hopic is spelled, which is a Kender's weapon, is like means I'm going to tell my friends and they're not going to be there. But it's basically a slingshot on the end of a stick. And that's what the Kender has as a weapon. And so that's really funny. And so Kenders always become wanderlust at least once in their life. And so I was thinking that's funny because I thought that she was like being self-conscious or whatever, and the author was trying to help her because if she walked to LA, she would, by the time she got here, she would become the beautiful Lorana who has LA in the name. I'm in LA right now, so I couldn't help but think that. And then I was like, oh, wait, Lorana, what the hell? That's so weird. And then I think she rides a dragon at one point. She might actually ride Silvara. So she might be suggesting that she like rent a place or something from that girl. They would probably get along, I don't know. Because I mean, she probably gets money every month without having to really worry about it. I don't know. I'm not really sure what's up with that girl. She, I think they call her a handler because she was the youngest of many siblings. And so she would borrow things from them and they would think it was cute. So Tasselhoff would represent the nuisance part of her. But the other part of her would be Lorana, the beautiful elven lady. She's elven because it's like still like representing my mom wanting me to be gay, kind of. It's so funny. But I never was. So Tasselhoff Burfoot. There was a faint rustle in the underbrush. Then a small figure stood on the path. It was a Kender, one of the race of people considered by many on Kryn to be as much of a nuisance as mosquitoes. Small-boned. Okay, you have to understand. This girl got into trouble. She started to be attracted. There started to be always junkies and stuff where she appeared. Small-boned. The Kender rarely grew over 4 feet tall. So it's like saying her friends died. Because 4 usually represents like rectangles or something. This particular kender was about Flint's height, but his slight build and perpetually childlike face, so it's like she's wanting to grow taller, wanting to drink or something, you know. Perpetual childlike face made him seem smaller. And you know what? Trying to find somebody who'd have the look of a kender, if you actually could think about this girl putting her hair in a top knot like this, I would love to take a picture of her doing that. Because that would be so cute. Because if she, when she was younger, if she did that when she was younger, it would have totally looked like Tasselhoff Barefoot more than anybody else, because of just the unique face that she has. She would have looked like a little elven boy, kind of. I don't know. So cute. There's nobody else that would really fit the character of Tasselhoff as well as her. It's so funny, but it makes sense. I mean, I wouldn't think of her as being Tasselhoff, but it's funny. Because like nobody else would fit that besides like maybe her sisters and stuff, and because she has a lot of siblings and what they would think about her, you know. So top knot, and so that makes sense because it's like a top knot, because I've been trying to make Palmby or whatever, somebody else at the top, right? So it's like trying to stop me from having the top because she likes me. So it's like trying to stop me from having the top because hair represents marriage. It's really funny. I like her. I wish she was younger. If she was, I would be like, hey. Anyways, I want to have children. So I want to have a lot of children. I want to have as many as Madonna. Did she have like 6? That's cool. Okay, so okay, so okay. He wore bright. Okay, so this particular kender about Flint's height, but his slight build and perpetual childlike face made him seem smaller. He wore bright blue leggings. It's a him because she's a lesbian. That stood out in sharp contrast to his furred vest and plain homespun tunic. His brown eyes glinted with mischief and fun. His smile seemed to reach to the tips of his pointed ears. He tipped his head in a mock bow, allowing a long tassel of brown hair. Because his hair is like a top knot. It's like that. It's like really long though. It's really long though. It's like a lot longer than my hair is right now. It was like brown. So it's like ties it up on the top like that. And so his brown eyes glinted with mischief and fun. His smile seemed to reach to the tip of the pointed ears. He dipped his head in a mock bow, allowing a long tassel of brown hair, his pride and joy, to flip forward over his nose. He dipped his head in a mock bow, allowing the long tassel of brown hair. Oh, isn't that kind of like saying, I'm sad that you found somebody? Hair went, because it's brown hair, frown hair, went to the nose. I know you found somebody. Sorry. Then he straightened up, laughing. metallic gleam. Tanis's quick eyes. That was so cool. Had spotted came from the buckle of one of the numerous packs strapped around his shoulders and waist. See, when I caught on to this with Tasselhoff being like my friend, I was like, oh, are they like trying to get me to forgive her? That makes sense. I miss her. I want to hang out with her again. I would forgive her. That's really cool. I mean, it's not like she did anything bad to me. But my girlfriend accused her of like wearing her shirt or something at a party, and my sister said that too. So like, she was just borrowing her things though. She didn't really steal them. It's like what I said. It's not a big deal. She's got a lot of sisters, you know. She's like borrowed stuff once in a while. So, Tass grinned up at them, leaning up on the Hupik staff. It was this staff that had created that eerie noise. That eerie noise. She was in a band called Vagina Junkies. It was eerie noise, indeed, yes. It's funny. Tanis should have recognized it at once. They were on the front cover of the Slug magazine. Having seen the Kinder scare off many would be laughing. What would the authors be thinking? Why would I ever respond to these people? What the hell? It's funny. Probably because they wanted their attention. They wanted to know about the tweeting 20s thing and what I am sharing for pre-death funerals, probably. And the more than that, the celebration thing, to meet themselves and their spouse or whatever, was pretty cool. So he then straightened up, laughing. The metallic gleam Tanis's quick eyes and spotted them from. His eyes had spotted came from the buckle of one of the numerous packs strapped around his shoulders and waist. Tass grinned up at them, leaning on his Hupik staff. It was this staff that had created the eerie noise. Okay, Tanis should have recognized it at once, having seen the Kinder scare off many would-be attackers by whirling his staff in the air, producing that screaming whine. A Kinder invention. The Hupik's bottom end was copper-clad and sharply pointed. A top end was forked and held a leather sling. The staff itself was made of a single piece of supple willow wood. Although scorned by every other race on Kryn, the Hupik was more than a useful tool or weapon to a Kinder. It was his symbol. New roads demand a Hupik was a popular saying among Kinderkind. It was always followed immediately by another of their sayings. No road is ever old. So it's like saying she stays young forever. That's true. She's probably still just like she was as a teenager. Tasselhoff suddenly ran forward, her arms open wide. Flint, the Kinder, threw his arms around the dwarf and hugged him. Flint, embarrassed, returned the embrace reluctantly, then quickly stepped back. Tasselhoff grinned, then looked up at the half-elf. "Who's this?" he gasped. "Tanis, I didn't recognize you with the beard." He held out his short arms. "No thanks," Tanis said, grinning. He waved the Kinder away. "I want to keep my money pouch." What? never knew. Just kidding. I actually would worry. It makes sense because she had an addiction. She was addicted to opiates. So I get worried that she'd take something. That's funny. Oh my gosh. It's really funny. With a sudden look of alarm, Flint felt under his tunic. "You rascal," he roared and leaped at the kender, who was doubled over, laughing. The two went down in the dust. That's true. They really did. Tanis, chuckling, started to pull Flint off the kender. Then he stopped and turned in alarm. Too late. He heard the silvery jingle of harness and bridle and the whinny of a horse. The half-elf put his hand on the hilt of his sword, but he had already lost any advantage he might have gained through alertness. Swearing under his breath, Tanis could do nothing but stand and swear at the figure and stare at the figure emerging from the shadows. It was seated on a small, furry-legged pony that walked with its head as if it were ashamed of its rider. Gray, mottled skin sagged into folds about the rider's face. Two pink eyes stared out from them from beneath a military-looking helmet. Its fat, blobby body leaked out between pieces of flashy, pretentious armor. I feel like that pretentious armor part was, never mind, I can't explain it. Some of these I just kind of have to not tell you about. A particular odor hit Tanis, and he wrinkled his nose in disgust. Hobgoblin. His brain registered. He loosened his sword and kicked at Flint, but at that moment the dwarf gave a tremendous sneeze and sat up on the kender. "Horse," said Flint, sneezing again. Horse actually makes people sneeze, which was what Tasselhoff would do. People that use that stuff, they sneeze. "Behind you," Tanis replied quickly. Behind you, yeah, hopefully behind you. My God, I haven't done that for, oh my gosh. I did it as a young adult. When I was injured recently and couldn't walk, and my doctor was too afraid to give me my medication, I did it for like 2 weeks or something. I don't know. That was a long time ago though. But besides that, it was like 20 years almost. So, but anyways, Flint, hearing the warning note in his friend's voice, scrambled to his feet. Tasselhoff quickly did the same. The hobgoblin sat astride the pony, watching them with a sneering, supercilious look on his flat face, his pink eyes reflecting the last lingering traces of sunlight. "You see, boys," the hobgoblin stated, speaking the common tongue with a thick accent. I feel like right there, it's the timing of thoughts and everything is trying to get me to hurry up in saving people so they get their pre-death funeral before it's too late. Just the way that everything is worded. "You see, boys," the hobgoblin stated, speaking the common tongue with a thick accent, "what fools are we dealing with here in Solace?" There was gritty laughter from behind the hobgoblin. 5 goblin guards, dressed in crude uniforms, came out on foot. They stood up positions on either side of their leader's horse. "Now," The hobgoblin leaned over his saddle. Tanis watched with a kind of horrible fascination as the creature's huge belly completely engulfed the pommel. I am Viewmaster Toad, leader of the forces that are keeping Solace protected from undesirable elements. That's funny. Todd. The only Todd that I knew. Viewmaster. That's funny. Because he was really bad. But it doesn't fit at all. But it's just funny because I know how hated he was for some things that he did that was really bad. He did some things that were really bad. That he's one of the only friends that I had that did that, like rob somebody. So it makes sense that they would use his name. That's the only friend that I knew about that actually did that to somebody. Actually, two of my friends I know about actually did that. Todd was one of them. That is so weird. Viewmaster, he did have very few friends probably because he had his drug habit. But yeah, I tripped out that he was actually Toad because of Mario, because he went through Mario. That he was Toad in Mario as well. Because I'd be lucky if he's alive. He might be a mushroom. Make sense? That's weird. That's weird coincidence. Because Mario is our cartel guy. Leroy Jenkins or whatever introduced me to him. I was living with Leroy I was living with Jenny, my sister, good Jen, when I met Leroy, who introduced me to Mario. So all this stuff it's weird how that's there. What the heck? You know what? Mexico is actually that much of a problem. The illegal stuff. Why can't they be legal? Like we should really do something about that, you know? I think what I want to do is I want to get a bunch of events going where people aren't allowed to use their own language, you know? And just like interact with them and teach them like all the stuff they need to know to be legal. I think that'd be a good idea. Anyways, Toad. That is so weird. I can't believe it, Todd. So funny. So Todd, who is he dating? He didn't really rob people. It was when he was dope sick. He robbed one of the Mexicans. And because of this, so this is why it was absolutely horrible. This is why I couldn't give out that number to anybody, right? And I would be always expected to be like the middle guy. I totally hated that. It was absolutely horrible. I should have said no. I should have never ever called my friend for them, you know? But I was like the only person that people would know that had a good contact. So, but I mean, I couldn't give anybody their number, you know? I couldn't give them their number because of what Todd did. Todd robbed one of them. He robbed one of them. And when I gave out their number, you know, I had to find out the hard way. And then they cut us off with this really weird red stuff. It wasn't like, because it was like a warning, hey, we'll give you stuff that'll get you if you do that. So, I mean, that's really sad. But I didn't actually know about that. Now, when I found out later, it was like, oh, that's why they did that with that red stuff. What the hell? But they checked with me, though. How do you do it? They made sure that we smoked it. And then they did that. Because I was dumb enough to give out their number to one of my friends or whatever. I shouldn't have done that. It was really stupid. I shouldn't have ever helped them either, but they were always trying to get me to help them because I had the best contacts. Shouldn't have ever done that. It was such a stupid thing. But anyways, I just knew the most people. Food Master, like, I during my early adult years, my early adult years, I had numbers of Mexicans. I could call them up, and then there'd be like a Mexican that didn't speak English, and you'd like get in the car, and you'd have like balloons in their mouth, and then I'd get stuff, whatever. It was really cheap. You get like back then, that was a long time ago too, $10. Somebody could rock that or something into $60. $10 would become like $60, pretty much. Somebody would buy that amount for $60 for sure. But I mean, I don't really want to. I was never into that. I never sold crack. But I was stupid, and I should have always said no whenever people, asked me to wait outside for them or whatever. That was really stupid. That was so long ago. I originally got into that. I had a crush on this girl. It was this lesbian girl. She was really a tough girl. Kelly, that Frente song, Accidentally Kelly Street. Makes a lot of sense. When she got into trouble, that song came out. Accidentally Kelly Street. Well, friends and strangers sometimes meet. Makes a lot of sense. But anyways, I really miss Kelly. She died, of course. She's trouble, but that's really sad that she died. Anyways, I don't talk about that. And so, wow, Toad. The only person I knew that actually robbed somebody, I guess he robbed a Mexican, like one of those guys. He called them, and then he like pulled a knife on him or something. He was like, "Give me all your stuff." How evil. He was such a nice guy too. It's so surprising to hear that he would do that. I guess he was sick. He was desperate. That was really dumb to do, though. Really dumb. I gave him their number. Anyways, leader of the forces that I am Viewmaster Toad, leader of the forces that are keeping Solace protected from undesirable elements. He gave us the undesirable elements. What a jerk. It's so weird. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the chances of this is happening. So what the heck? You have no right to be walking in the city limits after dark. You are under arrest. Viewmaster Toad leaned down to speak to a goblin near him. Bring me the blue crystal staff. If you find it on them. Oh, is it saying that he's on Facebook looking for stuff? That would make sense. He said in the croaking goblin tongue. I haven't seen him in like 20 years. Tanis, Flint, and Tasselhoff. Like I said, this is like talking about my childhood. Not my childhood, like my teenage years, my dumbest years. All looked at each other questioningly. Each of them could speak some goblin, Tas better than the others. Had they heard, right? A blue crystal staff? If they resist, add Viewmaster Toad, swinging back to common for grand effect, kill them. With that, he yanked on the reins, flicked his mount with a riding crop and galloped off down the path toward town. So funny. I love my friend. I hope he's alive. I'm worried about him. He probably quit, of course. That sucks though. Because of him, everybody got that, what they just mentioned. Weird. So when somebody does something really bad, it actually echoes like that. That's so weird. When somebody's trying to come up with something, it just like happens. Todd, what does that even mean? Todd is gifting, sharing, and then what was fresher or whatever was passed along. That makes a lot of sense. And it was not fresher, it was horrible. Because they totally gave us this really crappy stuff on purpose as a warning. Because of what he did. I got we all got punished because of what he did. Anyways. It's a good thing we weren't shooting it or anything like that. That'd be horrible. Because right there, if we were dumb enough to do that, you know, he could have killed one of us. And that was like their warning, you know. Anyways, I don't think he would have done it. Hopefully. I mean, it was just their timing and everything. They didn't speak English. So that's what the problem was. They didn't speak English. And they just wanted me to know. Never do that again. Never give out our number. How stupid. Anyways. My friends didn't understand either. They wouldn't stop bothering me. And I knew if I said no, they'd get it through somebody else. And it'd be like, oh my gosh, what if that killed them? It was so stupid. And I was having to pay for my drug tests and stuff. I had no way to do it. So I actually needed them. I needed to help them or I'd go to jail. It was so dumb. And that's why I had to leave Utah. And that's why I ended up becoming Tanis, the bearded guy. So it's weird how we're talking about this, because it's like Tanis is like the guy that's no longer Todd or Toad or whatever, but he's going back after 5 years. So it's like me when I became conservative or whatever. It's so funny, because I was afraid that they would find out at my work. I was building all the computers for Coldwater Creek, that I was not conservative, and that I would have voted just to legalize weed or something. So, yeah. But anyways. Wait, where is this? With that, he yanked on the reins, flicked his mount with a riding crop, and galloped off down the path toward town. Goblins and solace, this new theocrat has much to answer for, Flint spat. Reaching up, he swung his battle axe from his holder on his back and planted his feet firmly on the path, rocking back and forth until he felt himself balanced. Very well, he announced. Come on. So I guess these goblins that they're killing right here would represent my friends that died from I guess friends that died from, you know, drugs or whatever. That's weird. An axe is like being executed, or it's like facing execution or whatever. That's weird. I mean, nobody really, they just OD'd or something, you know. That's really sad what happened. It just happens, you know. I knew a lot of people. That's what the problem was, kind of. I knew a lot of people, and so that's why I have all these stories, you know. I knew a lot of people. Like, most of my friends weren't like that. Most of my friends didn't do drugs. So, anyways, but yeah, Todd, though, was the only friend I had that I knew of that actually did that. Give it to me, or else. Actually, Simon did that. Kelly, whatever, the girl I just talked about, she did that once too, and that's sad. She actually scared people. She was a lesbian, but she was scary. She looked like a man, and she was very tough. And yeah, never mind. So I had a big crush on her though. I loved her. Like, I'd stay at her house a lot and just hang out at her place. Her place was always, she usually would own her house, so she was conservative, but she always owned her house. She had a gun and stuff, but she was bad. I don't want to say that she was bad. Everybody was surprised that she, I don't know. I guess I don't want to tell you. She got into some trouble though. It's surprising. Everybody was surprised that she did some things that were bad when she had a, I don't know, people didn't want to admit that she had it in her, you know, so they kind of blamed her one of her girlfriends. It wasn't really her though, but they kind of did some Thelma and Louise thing, you know, together. Anyways, okay, so okay. I advise you to retreat, Tanis said, throwing his cloak over one shoulder and drawing his sword. That's true. I did advise them all to stay away from drugs. I never tried to get anybody into them. We've had a long journey. We are hungry and tired and late for a meeting with friends we have not seen in a long time. We have no intention for being arrested or being killed. Added Tasselhoff. He had drawn no weapon, but stood staring at the goblin with interest. The goblins with interest. A bit taken aback, the goblins reached at it. A bit taken back, the goblins glanced at each other nervously. One cast a baleful look down the road where his leader had vanished. The goblins were accustomed to bullying peddlers and farmers traveling to the small town, not the challenging, armed and obviously skilled fighters, but their hatred of their other races of Kryn was long-standing. They drew their long curved blades. Weird. So Flint strode forward, his hands getting a grip on the axe handle. There's only one creature I hate worse than a gully dwarf. That's like a homeless person in this, I guess. And he muttered, and that's a goblin. A gully dwarf was like the dirtiest, mangiest of all the dwarves. The goblin dove at Flint, hoping to knock him down. Flint swung his axe with deadly accuracy and timing. A goblin head rolled onto the dust, the body crashing to the ground. What are you slime doing in Solace? Interesting. So that name is bringing to my attention now. S is measuring what enters the body for the Dead Sea Scroll. O is sharing. And there's Lace. What are you slime doing in Solace? And then, interesting. Yeah, so they could have been Lace. Somebody could have died from that. L is working. And there's the Ace card. And then there's Ace is carrying, taking, or traveling a path. And then, where is it going? So all together, that's weird. Tanis asked, meeting the clumsy stab of another goblin skillfully. Their swords crossed and held for a moment. Then Tanis shoved the goblin backwards. Do you work for the High Theocrat? Oh. Theocrat? The goblin gurgled with laughter, swinging his weapon. Wildly it ran at Tanis. That fool, our feud master, works for the Ugg. The creature impaled itself on Tanis' sword. It groaned, then slid off to the ground. I thought they were just talking about Michael. He died in my house. Who would be the other one? Adam, maybe? My sister's? The boy that she loved. Damn. See, this is why Leroy's killed a bunch of people. Leroy Jenkins. Guilt trip us, right? Damn. Tanis swore and stared at the dead goblin in frustration. You clumsy idiot. I didn't want to kill it. Just find out who hired it. You'll find out who hired us. Wow, that's true. Of course I didn't want to kill him. You'll find out who hired us sooner than you'd like, snarled another goblin, rushing at the distracted half-elf. Tanis turned quickly and disarmed the creature, kicked it in its stomach, and the goblin crumpled over. In the stomach. Oh, that's reminding me of I was getting something to eat, and there was somebody. He might have died. I suspected that he died, but I didn't actually know. I think his name was Dave or something. That's horrible. I knew that was going to happen eventually. I should have never done. I should have. I thought that, by like policing them or something, they would survive, because they would do things however they wanted without somebody like looking out for them or making rules for them or something. Stupid. It was stupid. I should just stay away from them. But people were older than me, and that's how I got into drugs. There was always somebody older than me. I was always the youngest person. And then when I got out of jail, I kind of got desperate, and somebody kept bringing in business without really asking me. And I kept asking him to stop doing it. And then they would I would pretend to have a job just so that they would leave me alone. And they would crawl through my windows and stuff. When I wouldn't answer the door. It was crazy. They were just always, because they just knew that I was a person that could get things, because I knew so many people. But anyways, you'll find out who hired us sooner than you'd like, snarled another goblin, rushing at the distracted half-elf. Tanis turned quickly and disarmed the creature. He kicked it in his stomach, and the goblin crumpled over. Maybe he got off of it. He probably did. I was worried about him. Hopefully he lived, because if it says that he kicked it, that would make sense, because he just disappeared. I'm not sure if he died or not. He said he kicked it though. Because I was just wondering, because the last time I saw him, he just disappeared. Wasn't sure. I sure hope he didn't die. Anyways, another goblin sprang at Flint before the dwarf had time to recover from his lethal swing. It's so weird how they knew how to do all this. He staggered backward, trying to regain his balance. Then Tasselhoff's shrill voice rang out. These scum will fight for anyone, Tanis. Throw them some dog meat once in a while, and they're yours forever. What? Dog meat? The goblin croaked and turned from Flint in a rage. How about kinder meat, you little squeaker? So one of them was a cook that died. Scott died at Tasselhoff's house. And I guess that's everybody, right? The goblin flapped to get toward the apparently unarmed Kender, its purplish red hands grasping for his neck. So it's warning about the ready hands grasping for his neck. She described that he looked that way when he died. That's horrible. Tass, without ever losing the innocent, childlike expression on his face, reached into his fleecy vest, whipped out a dagger, and threw it all in one motion. The goblin clutched his chest and fell with a groan. There was a sound of flapping feet as the remaining goblin fled. The battle was over. Tanis sheathed his sword, grimaced in disgust at the stinking bodies. The smell reminded him of rotting flesh. Flint wiped back goblin blood from his axe blade. Tass stared mournfully at the body of the goblin he killed. It had a fallen face down, his dagger buried underneath. So the dagger would represent a needle. Wow, how'd they know all that? That's so weird. I'll get it for you, Tanis offered, preparing to roll the body over. No, Tanis made a face. I don't want it back. You can never get rid of the smell, you know? She didn't do needles. Tanis nodded. Flint fastened his axe in its carrier again. It's trying to get her to quit. That's so weird. The way that they worded that. Trying to get her to wake up to how dumb it was. Tanis nodded. Flint fastened his axe in its carrier again, and the three continued down the path. The lights of solace grew brighter as darkness deepened. The smell of the wood smoke on the chill night air brought thoughts of food and warmth and safety. The companions hurried their steps. They did not speak for a long time, each hearing Flint's words echo in the mind. Goblins and solace. Finally, however, the irrepressible Kendra giggled. Besides, that dagger was Flint's. So it's saying, so usually in that part people would laugh because Tasselhoff stole the dagger from Flint. But in this case, it's trying to say that Tasselhoff, my friend Jenny, didn't kill him. That somebody else gave, or she got, the needle was somebody else's. Wow. That's crazy. Wow. Was that everybody that died? Holy cow, it is. Oh my God, right now. But it kind of told me that somebody didn't die. It said he kicked it in his stomach. That's good. So I was worried about him because I was wondering. I remember I was buying food the last time I saw him. Jeez. That is so weird. I can't believe I just read that. I had no idea it was going to do that. Sorry, Jenny. Wow. Do you believe me now? Wow. I can't believe that just happened. Holy crap. Wow. I can't believe that just happened. That's so sad. Viewmaster Toad? Viewmaster? That's so sad. That is, he did have less friends than everybody else. Because he was a junkie. Who was his girlfriend? He was always with Catherine. Oh wait, what was her name? Oh, was it Catherine? No, it was something. I always called her Cat. That's what she went by. Wow. She was so pretty. He was so handsome too. But my God, that guy's, it's a miracle if he's still alive. Wow. Of course he wasn't ugly. He was actually good looking. But that was an ugly thing that he did. So it doesn't surprise me that he was described like that. Pink eyes, like surrendering. I get it, because he was just... That was not like him. Pink means surrender. That is so weird. I can't believe that just happened. Wow. Now I'm convinced that's synchronized to me. How the hell did I just read that? How is that possible? What the hell? Oh my God. So what just happened? Now, I just connected with that author the last time they slept and the next time they slept. Both on my side and their side. And that's where our minds touched the most. But as they were thinking and stuff, they were finding it. What to do. Give people the best lesson. Wow. That's incredible. That's really cool. I can smile about it now because it's been like 20 years. There's nothing good about that though. I'm glad, I'm happy because it's not that many people. I thought that there was a lot more. You know? But Michael, Scott, there really wasn't that many people, was there? That died. There was though, but I guess I didn't know the other ones all that well. I can't remember anybody else who died. I just remembered a guy I was on the ankle monitor with. Called him Hippie or something. Oh, I just remembered Michael Holman. He died. Oh, that's sad. He fell off a building? What the hell? That's weird. There's a part where they fight things and they go off the thing. It's probably going to do something to let me know about somebody. That's so weird. Wow. Don't think that you're like killing people. She's actually knowing how to word things so that it like does the opposite. It's really weird. Of course she didn't kill anybody. That's crazy to think about though. Is fantasy safe? Well, I think I just discovered it is. Wow, that's incredible. What the hell? How is that possible? I can't believe that happened. So do you believe me now? Are you the Red Eaton? Did they make that in history for you? Because she was on lean meat at the time. So it's to help her with the 16th scented celebration that I made for her. So that she reaches the highest kingdom in heaven or whatever. One head for doing the math for the how many chickens, and one head for the turkey, how many turkeys. I did it myself. It was like 13,000 or something animals that I killed in my lifetime. And so I just like every year I try to do something nice to gift them once a year. It just helps. You know, it's just like therapy. I have it for the pre-death funerals. People can face everything negative on these days that are an extension of Halloween. They'll all go through a spiritual experience. It's really cool. They'll go, wow. On the November 1st, I actually did post stuff that had to do with, you know, privacy or starting the celebration with you, or or when I first came across some of the things, it's always meaningful for different people, you know, the reasons, and it'll connect to different things like their dreams and stuff. Very cool. beautiful. They deserve what they did. They deserve to know what they did for themselves, you know? It's going to be cool introducing these pre-death funerals to people. It's so that they are forgiven. So they forgive themselves and have the best experience. I'm afraid that people took advantage of me and been blocking me so they could like take advantage of women or something. Or whatever. Of course, that's what people are going to think if you're not directing traffic my way. If I were you, I would just, you know, help me out. Invest in what I'm sharing. Wake up to, wow, that's a miracle. You know? Rather than coming up with excuses why I shouldn't share or whatever. Talk to me. Anyways. You know, be upset with me when you know what you did. You block people. It's messed up to do. I'm not that person anymore. That was a long time ago. Those people would have died some other way if it wasn't me. I was trying to save them. As I said, Tennis didn't want to kill him. I was trying to save him. Trying to question them. It's true. Trying to stop him from doing it. Why do you want to do it? I was always trying to convince him to stop. But like, if you don't give it to me, I can get through this. And it's not going to be bad. And what if it kills me? I know your stuff is good. What if they put something in it? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, I'm stupid for helping them. Alright, well, what a magical experience. Wow. I can't believe that just happened. That's so wow. Incredible. I'm shocked. Well, have a good night. Bye-bye.